floor was cold, too cold. Elias lay flat against it, cheek pressed hard to tile breath trapped somewhere in his chest. His hands were spread wide, fingers digging into the surface, as if the ground itself might slide away if he let go. He could hear his own breathing, loud, ragged, wrong. Not here, a part of his mind whispered. Not here, not now. The lights above him burned white, blinding, and for a moment they weren't lights at all. They were sky. Heat pressed down on his back. Dust filled his mouth. The air tasted like metal and smoke. Somewhere close, too close, a voice tore through everything else. "Sarge, down!" His body reacted before thought could form. Shoulders rolled, weight shifted, muscles searched for cover that wasn't there, heart slamming hard enough to hurt. Then reality snapped back. The white light stayed, but it flattened. Harsh, artificial. Noise rushed in all at once. Voices overlapping, shoes scraping tile, a thin strand of music drifting from overhead speakers. Elias blinked hard. The smell wasn't dust. It was polish, plastic, something sweet and fake. He pushed himself up slightly, and that was when the world finally settled into its cruel shape. Red fabric pooled around him. White trim brushed his wrist. A fake beard hung crooked from his face, the elastic biting into the old scar along his neck. He was lying on the floor of a shopping mall, wearing a Santa suit. For one suspended moment, everything went quiet again. Not peaceful, expectant. Then a child laughed, not unkind, just surprised. "Why is Santa on the floor?" Elias swallowed and tried to slow his breathing. He pressed his palms into the tile and pushed himself up to his knees. His chest felt tight, like it couldn't quite expand all the way. His eyes searched the space around him, still half somewhere else. That was when he saw it. Red fragments scattered across the white floor. Rubber, torn, lifeless. A balloon. Someone nearby said, uncertain, I think a balloon popped." The words landed softly, almost apologetically. Elias stared at the pieces. A sound that small, he thought. Just a pop. 10 years, he realized. 10 years I kept it buried. And this is what broke it open. He forced himself to stand. His knees trembled but held. He adjusted the beard with shaking fingers, tried to straighten it to look like whatever people expected Santa to look like. He felt the eyes before he really saw them. Not laughter, mostly. Something heavier. The kind of attention that made his skin prickle. People unsure whether to help or step back. Phones lifted, not aggressively, just enough to capture what might matter later. A man in a pressed vest moved through the loose circle of onlookers. Henderson. He didn't look angry so much as irritated. Clipboard tucked tight under his arm, eyes flicking quickly from Elias to the phones, then to the parents nearby. "What happened here?" Henderson asked. Elias opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. "I'm sorry," he said. "I reacted." Henderson exhaled through his nose. "Sir, this is a family space. Parents don't like incidents." Elias nodded. He always nodded first. "I can finish the shift," he said. "It won't happen again." Henderson glanced around, calculating. "People complain," he said. "They don't care about reasons. They care about videos." "I understand," Elias said. "I just need the hour." Henderson hesitated. Not cruel, just annoyed, burdened by the inconvenience of another human problem. "I need things calm," he said finally. "Step away for now." The words were quiet, firm. official enough to end the conversation. Elias reached for his hat. That was when he noticed the girl. She stood just beyond the edge of the crowd, small, still. Two neat braids, a red sweater hanging past her wrists. She wasn't laughing. She was watching him. "Maya," a woman's voice called. "Come here, honey." The girl didn't move. She took a step toward Elias. Henderson noticed her then. "Sweetheart, you should stay with your mom." Maya stopped in front of Elias and looked up at him. She reached into her sweater pocket and pulled out a tissue. "Are you okay, sir?" The word hit him harder than the floor had. "Sir." Elias stared at the tissue, then at her face. Calm, serious, unafraid. "I'm all right," he said, though his voice didn't quite agree. She studied him for a moment, like she was deciding something important. "Mom says brave people get scared too," she said. "My dad was like that." Something tight twisted in Elias's chest. The mall noise faded into a dull hum. He felt a memory press forward uninvited, a voice he hadn't allowed himself to hear in years. "The truth is the heaviest load to carry." Marcus used to say that. Elias had been carrying it for 10 years. Behind the girl, a woman stood frozen, one hand pressed to her mouth. Her eyes were fixed on Elias sharp, with recognition she didn't yet understand. Henderson shifted his weight, suddenly unsure. Elias lowered his hand from the hat. For the first time in a long time, he didn't walk away. And he didn't know why. Maya remained where she was, her small hand still extended. The tissue trembled slightly between her fingers. Elias stared at it for a long moment before taking it. His hand shook as he did. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Sweetheart." Maya nodded as if that was simply what people were supposed to do. "My mom says we should be kind to people who are hurting." The words landed softly without performance. Just something she had been told and believed. Elias pressed the tissue to his forehead. Sweat had gathered there, warm under the harsh mall lights. He felt the weight of eyes on him again, but it was different now. Less curious, more uncertain. From somewhere behind them, Henderson's voice cut in tight and controlled. "Kid, you should come back over here. Your mom's waiting." Maya did not turn around. She looked up at Elias, studying his face the way children sometimes do when they sense something important, but don't yet have the words for it. "You're not Santa," she said, not accusing, just stating a fact. "Not really." Elias swallowed. "No," he answered. "I'm just a man in a costume." The sentence felt truer than he expected. That was when Sarah pushed through the thinning crowd. She moved quickly but carefully, shopping bags bumping against her legs. Her coat was worn at the seams, patched in 2 places near the elbows. Her face carried the kind of tired that came from years, not days. "Maya, baby, we need to go," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Leave the man alone." Maya shook her head. "Wait, Mom, please." Sarah hesitated. She glanced at Elias, then at the people still watching, then back to her daughter. "Honey, he needs space." "No," Maya said again, softer now. "I think he needs to see this." She lifted the silver locket that rested against her chest. Elias noticed how careful her fingers were as she opened it, as if whatever was inside mattered enough to deserve respect. The photograph was old, slightly faded, creased down the middle. 2 men stood side by side in front of a military vehicle, desert stretching endlessly behind them. Sunlight bleached the colors until the sky looked almost white. The man on the left was young, black, smiling wide like he had no idea how young he was. Corporal's rank visible on his uniform. The man on the right was older, serious. His expression reserved, but his hand rested on the younger man's shoulder in a way that was unmistakably protective. Elias's hand shot out and gripped the edge of the Santa chair. The world narrowed. His breathing grew loud in his ears. He could feel sweat forming along his hairline, sliding down into the fake beard. His vision blurred, then sharpened, then blurred again. It was him. 11 years earlier. Same eyes. Same scar along his neck. The photo wavered slightly because Maya's hand was shaking too. Elias could not look away. Around them, the crowd murmured, sensing that something had shifted. Phones were still raised, but no one spoke. Even Henderson had gone still, his face tight, his clipboard hanging forgotten at his side. Maya looked up at Elias. "This is my dad," she said, pointing to the smiling soldier. The man next to him. "My mom says he saved my dad's life." Elias tried to speak. Nothing came out. "Do you know him?" Maya asked. The soldier with my dad, Sarah, stepped closer. She leaned in slightly, squinting at Elias's face beneath the crooked beard. Her eyes moved to the scar on his neck. Her breath caught. The shopping bag slipped from her hands and hit the floor with a dull thud. "Oh my God," she whispered. Elias finally tore his eyes from the photograph and looked at her. There was a long, unbearable pause. "Master Sergeant Grant," Sarah said, barely above a breath. Elias nodded. "Just once." "They told me you died," she said. "They said only 2 men survived from Marcus's unit, and they said you weren't one of them." "I survived," Elias said. His voice cracked despite his effort to keep it steady. "I just didn't have the courage to face you." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "Why?" she asked. "Marcus would have wanted you there. He loved you like a brother." Elias lowered his gaze. "Because your husband died saving my life," he said. "And I couldn't look you in the eye and tell you that." Maya looked between them, trying to make sense of the shift in her mother's voice. "Mom," she asked, "is this the man from the picture?" Sarah knelt beside her, tears spilling now. "Yes, baby," she said. "This is Sergeant Grant." Maya turned back to Elias. "So you knew my dad." Elias slowly lowered himself to one knee so he was level with her. He removed the Santa hat and set it carefully on the floor. Then he reached up and peeled away the fake beard, letting it fall beside the hat. His real face emerged, weathered, scarred, lined with 10 years of guilt he had never learned how to put down. "Yes," he said. "I knew your dad. He was my brother." Camera flashes popped quietly in the background, but Elias barely noticed. The Christmas lights overhead twinkled cheerfully, absurdly out of place. Maya stared at his face, taking in every detail. "My mom says heroes go to heaven," she said. "Is my dad happy there?" Elias's throat tightened. "Your dad loved you before you were even born," he said. "He talked about you every single day." Maya nodded, absorbing that. "Then why didn't he come home?" The question hung between them, heavy and unavoidable. Elias felt something inside him finally give way, because he chose to save someone, he said. He looked directly at her. "He chose to save me." The mall fell completely silent, And Elias remained there, kneeling, no longer hidden behind a costume, while the truth stood between them, undeniable at last. Elias remained on one knee. The floor pressed cold through the thin fabric of the Santa pants, but he did not shift. What he felt more clearly than the cold were the eyes. They were everywhere. Not loud, not hostile, just present. Phones were still raised, their lenses steady now, no longer chasing spectacle. The crowd had tightened without meaning to, drawn by something they did not quite understand. Sarah knelt beside Maya and turned fully toward Elias. Her hands were clasped together so tightly, her knuckles had gone pale. "Sergeant Grant," she said. Her voice held, but only barely. "Why didn't you come to the funeral?" Elias lowered his eyes. "I looked for you," Sarah continued. "Marcus's unit brothers came. His parents came. Everyone who loved him came. But you, they told me you couldn't be found." He swallowed. "I couldn't face you," he said. "I couldn't face his parents, or anyone who loved him." Sarah shook her head slowly. "Why?" Elias did not answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was thin but steady. "Because every breath I take should have been his." The words settled between them like something final. Maya looked from her mother to Elias, trying to understand what she was hearing. "Then why didn't you come see us?" she asked. No anger, just the blunt honesty of a child who expects an answer. "Why didn't you come visit?" Elias felt the question land deep. "I was afraid," he said. "Of us?" Maya asked. "No," he answered quietly. "Of myself. I was afraid you'd see me and wonder why I was still here when your dad wasn't." Sarah's shoulders dropped slightly, as if something she had carried for years had finally been named. "Is that why you disappeared?" she asked. "Is that why no one could find you?" Elias glanced down at the red suit pooled around his knees. "I've been here," he said. "There. Places that don't matter." "You were hiding," Sarah said. "For 10 years, he replied. Maya sat with that for a moment, then asked, "Can I ask you something about my dad?" Elias looked at her. "Anything. My mom has pictures," Maya said, "and she tells me stories. But what did he really like? What made him happy?" Elias closed his eyes. "He loved chocolate ice cream," he said. "Not just liked it, loved it. He'd trade anything he had to get it." Maya's face lit up through her tears. "I love chocolate ice cream too." A small smile touched Elias's mouth, the first one that wasn't forced. "Then you're definitely his daughter," he said. Maya hesitated, then leaned forward slightly. "Can you tell me more about him? People just say hero, but I want to know him." Elias looked at Sarah. She nodded once. He exhaled and slowly stood. The movement drew quiet attention. He pulled off the Santa gloves and let them fall. Then he unbuttoned the red coat and shrugged it from his shoulders in one smooth motion. Beneath it was a faded army t-shirt, stretched thin with age hanging loose on his frame. No costume now, just a soldier. "I can tell you," Elias said to Maya, "but not here, not like this." Maya's face fell. "I mean," he added quickly, "if your mom agrees, I'd like to tell you properly, over time, the way he deserves to be remembered." Sarah looked at him surprised. "You would do that?" "It's what I should have done a long time ago," Elias said. Maya reached for her locket again. "There's something else," she said. "Behind the picture. Do you want to see?" Elias nodded. She removed a small folded piece of paper from behind the photo and handed it to him. His hands shook as he unfolded it. He recognized the handwriting instantly. Sarah leaned in and read aloud, her voice trembling. Sergeant Elias Grant is the best man I ever served with. If I didn't make it home, he's the one who tried hardest to bring me back. Take care of each other. Marcus. Elias's breath caught. One tear fell, then another. He covered his face with his hands as his shoulders began to shake. Sarah stood and placed a steady hand on his shoulder. Elias, she said, Marcus trusted you. That letter says everything. He shook his head weakly. I failed him. No, Sarah said firmly. You carried him home. His honor came home. And now his truth has too. She took a breath. Come to dinner tonight. Let Maya hear about her father from someone who knew him. Elias looked up, eyes red. I don't deserve. Marcus thought you did, Sarah said. That's enough for me. As the moment settled, a man's voice spoke from somewhere behind the crowd. Calm, measured. Sergeant, the voice said. Before you go, what happened to you after Marcus died? Where did you disappear to? Elias wiped his face and looked toward the sound. That, he said quietly, is a longer story. The question lingered after Elias said it was a longer story. No one rushed him. No one filled the silence. A man somewhere behind the crowd finally spoke again. Not loud, not demanding. Just curious in the way people get when they realize they are standing at the edge of something they don't understand yet. So, what happened to you after Marcus died? Another voice followed, quieter. Yeah. Where did you go? And why didn't the army take care of you? Elias looked at Sarah. She shook her head gently. You don't owe anyone anything, she said. He nodded, then looked down at Maya. No, he said softly, but maybe I owe her. He took a breath and reached into the inside pocket of his shirt beneath where the Santa coat had been lying. His fingers closed around something familiar, a small cloth pouch. The fabric was worn thin, soft from years of being touched, folded, unfolded, and tucked away again. He brought it out slowly, like a fragile thing might break if rushed. I've been carrying something for 10 years, Elias said. I promised I wouldn't give it away until the right moment. He opened the pouch. Inside lay a silver Zippo lighter. It was tarnished now, dulled by time, but clearly loved. The edges were smooth from handling. The hinge moved easily, cared for without anyone seeing. On the front, the engraving caught the light. CPL Marcus J. Allen for Maya. When she's ready, Sarah inhaled sharply. That's Marcus's, she said. He bought it in Kabul. 2 weeks before. Her voice faded. I thought it was gone. He gave it to me, Elias said. Made me promise to keep it safe. He lowered himself to the floor and sat cross-legged. Without instruction, people nearby did the same. Some knelt, some sat. The circle tightened, not out of curiosity now, but respect. Maya sat directly in front of him. Sarah's arm came around her shoulders, steady and protective. 3 days before the patrol, Elias said Marcus bought this from a local vendor. Paid way too much for it. $20 American. A faint, sad smile crossed his face. We teased him. Told him he'd quit smoking years ago. Asked why he needed a lighter. Elias looked down at the Zippo in his hands. He said, "It's not for smoking. It's for light. For carrying light in dark places." The mall faded again. Night pressed close around a canvas tent. The hum of generators never quite stopping. Marcus sat on his bunk polishing the lighter with his shirt like it mattered. "You gonna tell me why you really bought that thing?" Elias had asked. Marcus hadn't looked up. "It's for my kid. Your kid who isn't even born yet. Especially because they're not born yet." Marcus had held the lighter out. "Feel how heavy it is." "It's just a lighter," Elias said. "No," Marcus replied. "It's a promise that even if I'm not there, I carried a flame for them, that I thought about them, that I loved them before I even knew their name." There had been a long silence. Then Marcus spoke again, serious now. "If something happens to me tomorrow, not when they're 5, not when they're 10, when they're ready, when they understand what sacrifice means." Elias had hesitated. "Promise me." "I promise." Marcus had smiled. "Good. Now let's make sure I get home so I can give it to them myself." Elias blinked, and the mall came back into focus. He opened the Zippo. Inside, protected by a thin plastic sleeve, was a tiny folded piece of paper. "He wrote this the same night," Elias said. "He told me if I ever had to give you the lighter, this came first." He held the Zippo out to Maya. She took it with both hands, careful, reverent. Sarah helped her unfold the paper. Sarah began to read, her voice steady at first, then breaking. "To my baby. If you're reading this, it means 3 things. 1, I didn't make it home. 2, Uncle Eli kept his word. And 3, you're old enough now to understand. I don't know if you're a boy or a girl. I don't know if you have my eyes or your mama's smile. I don't know if you like football or books or dinosaurs. But I know this. Every step I took in this desert, I thought of you. Every choice I made, I asked myself if my kid would be proud. I don't know if what I did makes me a hero, but I hope it makes me your hero. This lighter is a promise. No matter how dark it gets, you carry your own light. You decide who you want to be, and when you feel lost, remember your dad loved you before he even knew your name. Love doesn't die, baby. It just changes addresses. 3 more things. Tell your mom I'm sorry I didn't make it home to help with the diapers. Tell Sergeant Grant thank you for being my brother. Tell him to stop blaming himself. He would have done the same for me. Be kind. Be brave. Be yourself. I'm proud of you already. Dad. P.S. The lighter doesn't have fluid in it. I never wanted you to smoke, but you can still click it open and remember even a small flame can light up the darkness. Sarah couldn't finish the last line. Her shoulders folded as she covered her mouth, sobbing openly now. Maya clutched the Zippo to her chest, the paper pressed against it. Her small body shook as she cried. Elias sat very still. For 10 years he had carried this moment without knowing it. The tears came now heavy and unrestrained, his shoulders rising and falling as something old finally broke loose. Around them, people wiped their eyes. A man in the back bowed his head. Someone began to clap softly, unsure. Others joined, not cheering, not celebrating, just bearing witness. Through her tears, Maya looked up at Elias. "He knew," she said. "He knew he might not come back." Elias nodded, Soldiers prepare for the worst, but your dad, he prepared for you. She swallowed hard. Did he say anything at the end? Yes, Elias said. He said, tell my kid I tried to come home. Tell them I loved them. And Sarge, take care of them. Don't let my kid think I gave up. Elias met her eyes. Then he smiled. Even then. Because he knew he'd saved my life. And he knew I'd keep this promise. Maya nodded through tears. You did. It took me 10 years too long, Elias said. Sarah straightened, wiping her face. Her voice was firm now. But you kept it, she said. That's what matters. At the edge of the circle, Henderson shifted backward, trying to slip away unnoticed. A voice cut through the quiet. Hold on, it said. Where do you think you're going? Henderson had almost reached the edge of the crowd when someone spoke up. You're the manager, right? Henderson stopped, turned halfway, tried to smile. I didn't know what was happening. I was just doing my job. Jake stood there calm but unmovable. Your job starts with asking questions. A woman holding a toddler stepped forward. My husband has PTSD. If someone treated him the way you treated that man, another voice followed. You called him unstable. On camera. A phone lifted. I got it all. You threatening him while he was having an episode. Henderson's face drained of color. He looked around and realized how many lenses were pointed at him. 2 security guards approached. Both wore jackets with old unit patches stitched into the sleeves. The older one spoke evenly. Mr. Henderson, I think you should leave. We'll handle things from here. I'm the manager, Henderson protested weakly. Not right now, the second guard said. We'll be filing a report with corporate. Now go. Henderson looked around. No one stepped aside for him. No one defended him. He turned and walked toward the exit. The cameras followed him until the doors closed behind him. No one knew if he'd still have a job tomorrow, and no one particularly cared. Because he was no longer the story. Elias was. Jake sat beside him on the floor. Sergeant, can I ask you something? Elias nodded. You said Marcus died 10 years ago. Where have you been since then? Elias looked down. Here, there, nowhere important. You retired. The pause said everything. No, Elias answered. I was discharged. A ripple moved through the crowd. Honorable, Jake asked gently. Elias shook his head. Other than honorable. The silence deepened. But you served 20 years, someone said. You led men. I'm not a hero, Elias replied. Marcus was. Sarah leaned forward. The army said Marcus died honorably. Why would they discharge you? Elias drew a slow breath. Because after Marcus died, I didn't hold together. He stared at his hands. I carried him to the medevac, held him while he bled out, heard what he said at the end. Then I kept going, kept leading. His jaw tightened. We finished the deployment. I came home, and I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back there. Sarah whispered, "Didn't they help you?" They tried, Elias said. Counseling, medical retirement, full benefits, honorable discharge. So why didn't you take it? She asked. Because I didn't deserve it. The words came out bare. Marcus was dead. His wife was alone. His child would grow up without a father, and I was supposed to get help and collect a check. He swallowed. So I refused treatment, missed formations, Then one day another soldier joked about Marcus, called him collateral damage. Elias glanced at his knuckles. I put him in the hospital. Sarah covered her mouth. The army gave me a choice, Elias continued. Medical retirement with treatment or court-martial. And you chose, Jake asked, to walk away, other than honorable, no pension, no benefits. Jake nodded slowly. You punished yourself. For 10 years, Elias said. Sarah's voice hardened. Why? Elias looked at Maya, then at the Zippo in her hands. Marcus used to say something, Elias said. He said the truth is the heaviest load to carry, but it's the only one worth carrying. He paused. For 10 years I carried the truth that he died saving me. I thought if I suffered long enough, maybe it would make sense. Sarah shook her head. Marcus didn't die so you could destroy yourself. He died so you could live. Elias nodded. I know that now. He looked at Maya. When you asked me about your dad, something shifted. I realized I'd been carrying him wrong. He wanted me to live. For both of us. A woman stepped forward, professional, composed. My name's Amanda. I'm a veterans attorney. Elias blinked. That was 10 years ago. I know, she said. And I'm not promising outcomes. But what you described, PTSD refusal of treatment and assault during a mental health crisis, that's something worth reviewing. There may be options. Jake nodded. She's right. At least someone should look at it. The older security guard cleared his throat. There's a diner across the street. Owner's a vet. Dinner's on us tonight. An older woman added warmly, and my church runs a veterans group. Sundays, you're welcome. Another man said, I know someone at the VA. I can make a call. Hands reached out with cards numbers. Elias sat there overwhelmed. Sarah knelt beside him. Come to dinner tonight, please. Maya tugged his sleeve. Please, Uncle Eli. He froze. Uncle. That's what Dad called you, she said. Elias nodded, tears welling again. Okay. Yes. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Elias glanced at the Santa suit on the floor. For 10 years, he had worn costumes. Tonight, he would sit at a table as himself and begin facing the life he had denied. Sarah's apartment was small, the kind of place that had learned how to hold on to warmth. The building was old, the hallway dim, but inside everything was clean and lived in. Every wall carried Marcus, photos from high school football, his basic training graduation. Their wedding day, Marcus in dress blues, Sarah in a simple white dress, both smiling like they couldn't believe their luck. Deployment photos followed. One empty frame waited on the wall patient. Elias noticed that one first. It was just before 7 when he knocked. He had changed at the motel jeans, a button-down that felt stiff against his skin. The door opened, and Maya rushed him, wrapping her arms around his waist. Uncle Eli. He froze for a heartbeat, then bent and held her gently, unsure how tight was allowed, then deciding it didn't matter. From the kitchen, Sarah called, Come in. Hope you like fried chicken. It was Marcus's favorite. Elias stepped inside and stopped in front of the wedding photo. He studied Marcus's face, the ease of his smile. He looked happy, Elias said. Sarah came to stand beside him. He was. That day and the day Maya was born. The table was simple. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, cornbread, sweet tea. 3 place settings. Candles not romantic, just warm. Maya climbed into her chair, legs swinging. Can we eat? I'm starving. We're waiting for Grace, Sarah said. Elias shifted. I don't really... You don't have to say anything, Sarah said. Just sit with us. They joined hands. Elias hesitated, then took theirs. Lord, Sarah said, thank you for this food. Thank you for bringing Elias back into our lives. Thank you for Maya's courage. And thank you for Marcus, who loved us well. Amen. Amen, Maya said. Elias added quietly, Amen. They ate, slowly at first, then easier. Uncle Eli, Maya asked, what was my dad's favorite food in the army? Chocolate chip cookies, Elias said. Your mom sent them. Marcus hid them, but everyone knew where they were. Sarah laughed. He was terrible at hiding things. One time someone took one while he was on patrol, Elias said. When Marcus found out, he made the guy do 100 push-ups. 100. Maya grinned. He took his cookies seriously. For a while, that was all it was. Eating, talking, laughing. Elias learned Maya wanted to be a doctor, that Sarah worked 2 jobs, that they'd lived here since Marcus deployed. Maya loved science. Sarah hadn't dated since. He shared what felt safe. Weekly motels, odd jobs. The nightmares came less often now. He hadn't been to church in years. Dessert came out peach cobbler. Marcus proposed over peach cobbler, Sarah said. He talked about that cobbler for months, Elias replied. Said it changed his life. It was his mama's recipe, Sarah said. She passed a couple years ago. I'm sorry, Elias said. You're here now, Sarah said. That matters. Later, Maya curled up on the couch, the Zippo resting against her chest. She fell asleep quickly, peacefully. Sarah covered her with a blanket. She hasn't slept like that in a long time. They moved back to the table, coffee and chipped mugs. Can I ask you something? Sarah said. Of course. She didn't ask about guilt or blame. What do you want to do next? She asked. Not tomorrow, not 10 years ago. Now. Elias stared into his coffee. I don't know how to live like this, he said. I know how to follow orders, how to survive. I don't know how to be normal. I don't know how to be part of a family. Sarah nodded. That makes sense. She leaned forward. So here's what I'm asking. She gestured toward the hallway. I have a spare room. It's small, but it has a bed, a desk, a window. Elias shook his head slowly. I don't know how to do this. Stay. Be around people. I'll mess it up. Probably, Sarah said gently, and we all do. She met his eyes. But I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to have a purpose. He looked up. Maya needs to know her father as more than a picture, Sarah said. You knew him. You remember him. That matters. She continued, steady now. Your job is simple. You tell her stories. You show up for dinner on Sundays. You let Amanda help you untangle the army side of things. And you learn how to be here. That sounds like more than a job, Elias said. It is, Sarah replied. It's a mission, just a different kind. Elias looked at Maya sleeping, at the photos, at Sarah's face, tired but hopeful. 1 month, he said. I'll try. 1 month. We'll see, Sarah said, not arguing. They both knew. Later that night, driving back to the motel to pack Elias past Arlington. The gates were closed. He pulled over anyway. He sat in the car watching the white headstones glow under the moon. Marcus, he whispered. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to learn. That's my mission now. Elias drove with the radio off. The engine filled the car with a low, steady sound. Streetlights passed one by one, each flare of light washing over the windshield before slipping away behind him. He did not check the clock. He did not hurry. His hands rested on the wheel, as if they already knew where to go. When Arlington appeared ahead of him, the gates were closed. He pulled over anyway. Snow had started to fall. Not hard. Not gentle either. Enough to settle on the hood to cling to the shoulders of his coat when he stepped out. The cold crept in slowly, deliberate. Elias walked along the fence. His boots crunched softly on gravel, the sound loud only because nothing else was moving. The maintenance gate waited where it always had. The latch hung loose. He slipped inside. The cemetery opened wide and quiet. Rows of white headstones stretched into the dark, catching moonlight and snow until the ground itself seemed to glow. The wind moved through the evergreens, low and constant like breathing. Section 60 lay ahead. Elias did not pause to look around. His feet carried him forward. He had walked this path 1,000 times in his head. Row K Grave, 1847. Fresh snow waited there untouched. His footprints broke the surface one after another. He stopped in front of the stone and stood for a moment before lowering himself down. Snow soaked through the knees of his jeans almost immediately. He brushed the stone once. The snow came back. He brushed it again slower this time until the name showed clear. Marcus James Allen Corporal, U.S. Army Operation Enduring Freedom, Purple Heart Bronze Star, yellow roses rested at the base. The petals had started to curl at the edges. Elias stared at them longer than he meant to. Then he reached out and laid his palm flat against the marble. Cold pushed up into his skin. He stayed that way for a while, long enough for the snow to gather on his sleeves, long enough for his breath to slow. Finally he spoke. "Hey, brother." The word hung there, swallowed by the open night. "I should have been here." He nodded once, as if acknowledging a fact already decided. "Took me too long." The wind moved through the trees again. Elias tightened his jaw. "I didn't do well after you were gone." He shifted his weight on one knee. Snow creaked beneath him. "They told me to talk, to get help." A pause. "I didn't." Another pause. "I let things fall apart." He glanced down at his boots, then back at the name carved into stone. "They called you a hero." He breathed out slowly. They weren't wrong. Silence pressed in, the kind that doesn't ask for anything. "I met your kid today." His voice changed just enough to notice. "Maya." He swallowed. "She doesn't waste words. Gets straight to the point." A faint sound escaped him, not a laugh, not quite. "She wanted to know what you liked, what made you happy." Elias nodded once. "I told her about the ice cream." The snow thickened, softening the edges of the world. "I gave her the Zippo." His hand flexed on the stone. "The one you made me promise to keep." He waited before speaking again. "She read your letter." Another long pause. "You always planned ahead." The wind pushed harder now, rattling branches overhead. "I blamed myself," Elias said. "For everything." His voice stayed level, but his shoulders tightened. "That RPG was coming for me." He stopped there. No explanation followed. None was needed. "But Sarah said something today." He lifted his hand from the stone, rubbed it against his thigh, then set it back. She said you chose. A breath in, a breath out. That it wasn't my fault you saved me. His jaw worked. I don't know how to carry that yet. Snow clung to his collar, melted, ran cold down his neck. But I'm trying. He looked at the roses again. I'm staying around. The words were short, final. I'll tell Maya about you, as much as she wants to hear. Another nod. I won't disappear. Elias bowed his head. He did not speak right away. When he did, his voice was quiet. God, I'm here. That was all. He stayed kneeling a few seconds longer. Then he pushed himself up, joints stiff, movements careful. He brushed the snow from his knees, straightened his coat. He raised his hand in a clean salute, held it, counted silently, lowered it. Rest easy, he said. I've got it. Elias turned and walked back the way he came. The snow showed 2 lines of footprints, now one leading and one leading out. Halfway to the car, his phone vibrated. He stopped under a streetlight and read the message. Maya wants to know if you like pancakes. Breakfast tomorrow. Elias looked at the words for a moment longer than necessary. Then he typed back. Love them. He sat in the car before starting the engine, watching snow collect on the windshield. That night, he didn't sleep. He read quietly, filled out forms. Not all of them. Just enough. By morning, he didn't have answers, but he had direction. And for now, that was enough. That night, Elias didn't sleep. He researched VA volunteer programs by laptop light. By morning, he'd filled out 3 applications. By the end of the week, he'd found his new mission. 6 months later, the VA office smelled like old paper and burnt coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The walls were government beige, crowded with bulletin boards, layered in flyers and half-torn notices. Elias sat across from a young man whose frustration had nowhere left to go. Miguel slapped a folder onto the desk. 8 months, he said. 8 damn months. They keep saying pending. I can't keep waiting like this. Elias didn't interrupt. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk, and opened the folder. I know what waiting feels like, he said quietly. It eats you alive. Miguel stilled. Elias scanned the paperwork with practiced care. You're missing a buddy statement, he said, and your medical records don't clearly link your injury to your current condition. That's why they're stalling. Miguel let out a bitter breath. So what, this just keeps going? No. Elias said. We fix it. He tapped the page. We track down your squad leader. I'll help you write the statement. And we request your full file from Landstuhl. Not summaries. Everything. Miguel studied him. You work here, volunteer, Elias said. 3 days a week. Why, Elias closed the folder and met his eyes. Because nobody should feel invisible while they're waiting for help. He slid the folder back. Your claim isn't stuck because you're wrong. It's stuck because the system's slow. We'll make it move. Miguel nodded, shoulders easing. Have you eaten today? Elias asked. Miguel shook his head. Elias slid a 20 across the desk. Downstairs, get something hot. Come back in an hour. Miguel hesitated. I'll pay you back. Elias shook his head. Just do the same for someone else someday. 6 months earlier, Elias had nothing but time and regret. Now his days were full. Not easy, but full. Elias sits beside an older Vietnam veteran, the two of them hunched over a single form, Elias's finger, tracing each line patiently, never rushing. Later at Sarah's kitchen table, Elias helps Maya with math homework. She frowns, erases, tries again. Elias doesn't give the answer, just nods when she gets there herself. That night, Elias washes dishes while Sarah dries. No conversation, just the quiet rhythm of shared space. He didn't replace Marcus. He didn't try to. He simply stayed. Amanda found him the following afternoon. She didn't speak at first. She just held something out. A single sheet of paper. Elias stared at it. His hands didn't move. "Elias," Amanda said softly. "It's official." He took the paper carefully like it might tear. At the top in bold letters were the words he hadn't seen attached to his name in over a decade. Honorable discharge. His breath caught. He traced the word with his thumb. Once. Again. As if checking that it was real. "They reviewed everything," Amanda said. "Your medical records, the circumstances of the incident, your PTSD diagnosis." Elias barely heard her. "They agreed," she continued. "You were injured, not broken, and you were never a disgrace." His hands shook now. Tears fell not fast, not loud, but steady. "I wasn't," he said more to himself than anyone else. Amanda nodded. "No, you weren't." She waited, then added, "There's back pay too. Benefits reinstated." Elias looked up, eyes red but clear. "Okay." That was all he said. Miguel, waiting nearby, broke into a grin. "Sergeant, that's huge." Elias folded the paper carefully. "Yeah," he said. "It is." That night they sat around Sarah's table. Maya leaned forward, studying Elias's face. "You look different." "I got some news today," Elias said. "Good news." Sarah smiled gently. "Your discharge." He nodded. Maya tilted her head. "Does that mean money?" Elias chuckled. "Some." "Are you going to buy something cool?" "First," Elias said, "I'm going to take care of the basics. A place of my own, reliable car, a little breathing room." Sarah watched him closely. He met her eyes. "I need to stand on my own," he said. "So I can stay by choice, not need." She nodded. "That matters." Elias turned back to Maya. "But after that, I want to do something else." Maya leaned in. "What?" "I want to save part of it," Elias said. "Not all at once, little by little, to help kids who lost a parent in uniform." Maya's eyes filled. "Like me." "Like you," Elias said. "And kids like you." He paused. "I want to call it the Marcus Allen Memorial Fund. Not big, just steady." Sarah reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "That sounds like him." Elias nodded. "That's the point." Maya smiled through tears. "Uncle Eli, my birthday's next month. You coming?" He didn't hesitate. "Wouldn't miss it." Sarah smiled. "It'll just be family." Elias leaned back slightly, the words settling into him. "Family," he said. "Yeah, I like that." 1 year after the mall. The backyard was small, but it was full. Purple streamers fluttered along the fence. A balloon arch leaned a little to one side, stubborn no matter how many times Sarah fixed it. A folding table held paper plates and a cake shaped like a stethoscope, white frosting, purple trim. 15 or so people filled the space. Kids from school chased one another between chairs. Neighbors talked in loose circles. It felt lived in. Earned. Elias stood by the grill apron tied tight across his chest. "Grill Sergeant," it read. Jake's idea. He flipped burgers focused. Uncle Eli, Maya ran up already reaching. Can I have a burger now? Not till we sing, he said. That's the rule, Maya groaned. But I'm starving. Elias smiled. Your dad used to say that every day. 1,100 hours like clockwork. Maya's eyes widened. What did you say? I said, Corporal, you ate breakfast an hour ago. And he said, yeah, but that was an hour ago. Maya laughed loud and free. Elias felt it settle somewhere deep. Before the cake came out, Sarah clapped her hands. Everyone, she said, before candles, we want to share something special. She rolled out a small podium from the church. Behind it hung a simple banner. Marcus Allen Memorial Scholarship, first annual 5 teenagers, stepped forward nervous and proud. Elias recognized the look. Amanda spoke briefly. This year we're awarding $5,000 each to 5 students who've lost a parent in service. This scholarship is made possible by the Allen family and Master Sergeant Elias Grant. Then Maya stepped up. She wore a purple dress. Marcus's Zippo rested on a thin chain against her chest. She took the note cards from Sarah, glanced at them, then looked out at the crowd and hesitated. She looked back at Sarah, then at Elias. He gave her a small nod. My dad, Maya said, voice quiet but steady, died before I was born. She paused, fingers tightening on the cards. I never got to meet him, but Uncle Eli made sure I knew who he was. Elias swallowed. Maya took a breath. My dad liked helping people and doing hard things if they mattered. She looked at her mom, then back at the crowd. Mom says love doesn't go away. It just moves to a different place. A few soft smiles in the crowd. This scholarship. Maya finished a little braver now. Is my dad still helping people? Thank you for letting me give it in his name. Applause rose, gentle, proud. One by one, Elias and Maya handed out envelopes. Thank you, a girl said. My dad would be proud. Elias nodded. So would mine. The last student grinned. This helps a lot. Maya smiled back. My dad wanted people to have chances. Sarah snapped a photo, 5 students, Maya in the middle, Elias just behind her. Jake leaned in. That's going on the wall, right? Right next to Marcus's, Sarah said. When the cake came out, everyone gathered close. 12 purple candles ringed the top. 1 white candle stood apart. Sarah lit the white one first. This one's for your dad. Maya leaned in. Hi, Dad, she whispered. I'm 12 now. I'm okay. Mom's happy. Uncle Eli's here. I love you. Sarah lit the rest. They sang. Maya closed her eyes and blew out every candle in one breath. Cheers followed. Later, Elias sat beside her on the steps. So, he asked, what did you wish for? Maya shook her head. Can't tell. Fair. She leaned closer. I wished you'd never leave. Elias didn't answer right away. Then quietly, that's already true. As the sun dipped low, the yard softened. Kids drifted home. Adults stacked chairs. Elias and Sarah sat on the porch swing, its chain creaking gently. A year ago, Sarah said, you were wearing a Santa suit and ready to disappear. A year ago, Elias replied, I thought my life was over. And now, he watched Maya laugh as she tossed a ball back and forth. Now I have a family, he said, and something to protect. Sarah showed him her phone. 2 photos side by side. Left them all. Elias on the floor. Maya standing in front of him. Right today. Envelopes in hand. Smiles. 1 year, Sarah said. Same souls. Different story. You posted that, Elias asked. On the Justice Soul page, she said. People needed to see it. Elias shook his head. It's Marcus's story. It's yours too, Sarah said. That's the point. The first star appeared. Maya ran over. First star, make a wish. Elias closed his eyes. What did you wish for? She asked. He looked at her. At Sarah. I wished I'd found you sooner, he said. But I'm grateful for now. Maya hugged him tight. Me too, Uncle Eli. The lights came on as night settled in soft laughter, warm air, a life still going on.
This is not a story about a mall Santa. It is a story about a man who carried guilt for 10 years, quietly, stubbornly, until a 10-year-old girl asked him the one question he could no longer run from. It is a story about a widow who chose forgiveness over bitterness, about a child who chose curiosity over silence, and about a soldier whose love survived death because someone was brave enough to carry it forward. Marcus Allen died at 28. He died wearing a uniform, saving another man's life. His name is carved into white stone at Arlington Section 60 Row K Grave, 1847. Fresh flowers rest there often now. But Marcus's legacy does not live only in stone. It lives in his daughter Maya, standing in a classroom and talking about her father with pride instead of questions. It lives in a silver Zippo, warm in her hand, the click of its lid reminding her she was loved before she was ever born. It lives in a scholarship that carries his name, quiet checks written to children who never met him, but whose futures are shaped by his sacrifice. Dozens of students have been helped. Some have graduated. Some have chosen medicine. Some have chosen service. None of them ever met Marcus. All of them carry his light forward. He works full-time as a VA peer support specialist. He still has nightmares. He still flinches at loud noises. Trauma does not disappear. It learns how to share space. But Elias does not hide anymore. He shows up for Sunday dinners, for school assemblies, for veterans who sit across from him angry and tired and afraid, carrying the same weight he once carried alone. He tells Marcus's story not to glorify war, but to speak honestly about its cost, about sacrifice, about the families who keep living after the uniforms are folded away. And every December 20th, Elias visits Arlington. He stands in the cold. He salutes. He speaks quietly. He updates Marcus on Maya, on Sarah, on the life that keeps unfolding because of a single choice made in a moment of courage. Marcus used to say, "The truth is the heaviest load to carry." Elias carried that truth for 10 years. It nearly crushed him. What Marcus did not say, and what Elias finally learned, is that once you are brave enough to carry the truth, it stops being a burden. It becomes a gift you give to yourself, to those you love, and to those who come after. The Marcus Allen Scholarship is a fictional creation inspired by the real sacrifices made by military families every day. You can honor them by supporting veterans and military families in your own community. And if you are hurting, please know this: you don't have to carry it alone. Veterans Crisis Line. Dial 988, then press 1.